This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
And we're not done. The next day, July 4th. That's right. A 4th of July show. Waylon Jennings is going to join you guys in Memphis, Tennessee at the Liberty Bowl. And you'll be in there with Ricky and Robert taking on yourself and Ole. Y'all go to a draw, but there's only 1,900 fans there. What do you remember about being in Memphis here?
I think probably my self-preservation memory kicked in because I can't remember that one. But if it was that few of people, that would have been a huge financial, I think, what loss, right? Had to be. I don't know what the rent was on those stadiums, but God Almighty, 1,900 people. That was, in those days, and probably still today to a degree, that's Jerry Lawler country, and that's Memphis, Tennessee, and their own territory and all that stuff. And they were used to having wrestling all the time. Why that house was not better than that, I wished I had the answer. Enjoy it today. But, I knew those guys were big stars in their own genre. And a lot of the boys were, love country music. For me, my tastes were just different at that time.
Do you remember anybody having a particularly interesting interaction with any of these guys? It just feels like with some of these bigger personalities, whether it's Waylon Jennings or it's George Jones, George Jones had a reputation. He was nicknamed No Show Jones. And some of these guys like to party a little bit. And, well, occasionally wrestlers would do the same. Any interesting memories of anybody with any of these guys?
Well, I think Big Dust and Magnum, those guys were friends of Dusty's. Pretty much, I'm sure everybody that was booked was friends with Dusty. And those guys were doing the after hours. They were all partying, if we were staying over in that town, I'm sure. I think they stayed at the arena a couple of nights, and partied right there in the arena, just, drinking heavy. I'm sure that somebody snuck off and had a puff of some herbal essence, who knows? But yeah, those guys were friends of Dusty and Magnums. And I think Ricky and Robert were, having some cold beers with these guys as well. They weren't there just to perform, but I think the party was afterwards, obviously. Sometimes I remember faintly, we were in those days, we protected the business. Kayfabe was prevalent. We would not be partying with those guys. That's for sure. And all the entertainment was there, basically friends of the baby faces.
The next day, it's time for another event at a stadium, Cincinnati, at the Riverfront Stadium. Only 3,900 here, but you're going on last. It's Dusty and Road Warrior Hawk taking on Ole and Arn. It's a steel cage match. Dusty pins you. George Jones was doing the concert that night. Listen, this seems a little silly, but you grew up listening to a lot of these musicians who were here, and they're clearly very big stars in the country music genre. Do you have any fun memories of interactions with any of these guys like George Jones or what have you?
No disrespect to any of the country guys that were, and that were performing at these shows at that time. Again, 20 something, whatever I was, man, I was a Led Zeppelin freak.
Yeah.
I was a Molly Hatchet freak. I was a Motown freak. Country music at that time did not grab me.
So on the 10th, you're in Charleston, West Virginia. Waylon Jennings and Jesse Coulter are going to be there. It's going to be Ole and Arn taking on Don Kernoodle and the Italian Stallion. On the 11th, you're at the Civic Center in Roanoke. David Allen Coe has a performance here. You and Ole will take on Hector Guerrero and Denny Brown. And then on the 12th, there's 10,000 fans here in Jacksonville at the Gator Bowl. Once again, it's with Waylon Jennings and Jesse Coulter. This time, you're in singles action with Magnum TA, and he's going to defeat you here. So fun little moment. You get a stadium show, wrestling Magnum. What do you remember of this?
Well, when I go back and I hear you're running chronologically through through these months and years, I didn't wrestle Magnum that much in the singles.
Right.
This would have been a treat because the guy was over, you know, people loved him. He was really building. You could see he was heading towards stardom, superstardom. And he was also stiff as he could possibly be in those days. He would knock your head off. Which was fine in those days. Who cared? Like I said, you're young, worry about, you know, hot bath, 12 pack, I'll be fine tomorrow. But it was one of the rare occasions I had, especially in that setting. That would have been a great night for me.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at savewithconrad.com.